Thank you very much, Chair Langford and Ranking Member Fetterman, and good afternoon to our witnesses. It's good to see all of you. And Ms. Dudley, I think I hear that we share a high school in common. So
we do indeed. I was a few years ahead of you, but yes.
Well, it is nice to see another Lincoln Sudbury graduate. So let me start with a question to you, Ms. Dudley. And it's really a follow-up on your opening testimony. Congress needs to work in a bipartisan way to ensure standards and rules are effective and allow government to work better and faster for taxpayers. In addition, Congress needs to make its intent clear when passing legislation so that federal agencies can effectively deliver government services. So you talked some about this, but you also referenced a little bit more detail. So what are the most effective steps Congress can take to ensure that the intent of Congress is clear and at the same time to really improve government efficiency as we go about this work?
So one of the things that I stress in my written testimony is that there are different factors that go into good policy, and that we have a tendency to say agencies should base a decision on the science or on the facts. But the facts alone often don't translate nicely into a policy decision, just isn't that neat. So understanding the different factors and being explicit about what the agency should consider, not necessarily how it should consider it, but how to think about the different trade-offs involved.
Thank you. Congresswoman Schwartz, it's good to see you. You've highlighted that the Loper-Bright decision will strain Congress's capacity to draft laws with the level of specificity now required. How do we realistically build the capacity within Congress to draft laws with the kind of precision now expected by the courts?
I would know that. We do suggest in the report that first you could really continue this process. So thank you for having this hearing initially, but to create a bipartisan process to review what could be done and what you're willing to do. We've seen the House already hold a select committee on modernization of their rules and procedures. I think that goes a long way. You could do something similar, but I thought it's important to make sure that you have some bipartisan efforts going forward. So we do suggest investing in staff and the expertise in staff so that we don't, well, there's a lot of relying on the expertise in the agencies, but having more expertise. And so we suggest even a fund to be able to hire experts when you need to. We know some laws are very explicit and some are more general. So we need to figure out how you can be more explicit about the direction. And that could be by having more expertise here in the Senate and in the House, and be able to work together on that. I think that makes a big difference.
Well, thank you for that. And kind of a follow-up, I'm concerned that in the wake of Loper-Bright, we may see a retreat from evidence-based policymaking just at a time when I think we really need to be evidence-based. And I'm concerned we'll see it particularly in areas where Congress has historically relied on agency experts to apply the best available science and data. We know that some degree of agency flexibility is also essential for implementing laws effectively in complex and evolving areas. I mean, you can't always, a lot of these facts are not static, right, as we're addressing some of the most significant challenges we have. So in your view, how can Congress strike the right balance, drafting laws with enough specificity to withstand judicial scrutiny while still allowing agencies to apply their expertise and respond to new evidence over time?
Well, you have it exactly right. That getting that balance right is not something we always do. And I understand that sometimes we don't get specific because it makes it harder to pass legislation. And I've been in both situations where we got very explicit, as in the ACA, and in others where we've seen it more general. So I guess I would say it's always going to be a balance. But I think the more we can understand what those choices are and to guide that choice, but not necessarily all the details of that choice. Because and I think we need more reporting back from the agencies if they're struggling here. This conversation can happen during the regulatory process and more accountability to check in and see how it's working a year or two later. We've done that. We modify laws all the time because our experience has told us we need to. But they have to come back to you have to come back to you. They have to come back to the Senate and the House. They can't just decide on their own. And honestly, we're seeing a whole lot of expression and by the executive branch of I think, getting way over their skis on this, and to exert the power of the Senate and the House to make these laws. If they want to see it done really differently, they need to come back and say, you got to change the law to let us do it. I think that is a way to demand that kind of, and exert the power of the House and the Senate to actually make the laws and to help in the interpretation of those laws as well.
So one of the things that I'm hearing you say, among others, or a couple of the things, is that we really need to be articulating goals and metrics within legislation where that applies. You know,
That's right, and I think there's nothing wrong with actually asking for data. And I think Susan's going to talk about this maybe, but evidence, you know, you can create evidence any way you want.
Right.
So, not that I don't believe there isn't fact, I do. But we're in an era right now where there's so much misinformation and misunderstanding about facts that we need to be clear about what you intend, sorry, it's not we anymore, but you intend, and to have that kind of back and forth and understanding.
Thank you. Ms. Dudley, you wanted to?
Just a quick reinforcement of what you both just said. We have a lot of challenges that are evolving, and we have to design both laws and the regulations with learning in mind so that we can learn, test, evaluate, and then revise and revisit.
Right.
So I
appreciate you both. Thank you very much.
Senator Fetterman, do you have additional questions you want to be able to ask right now?
I just, it's more of a quick one.
Yeah.